These are the oldest GE fans that I have in my collection. Got 4 of them here. That one right there is a Quietblade. This is my biggest Vortalex that I have. I believe this is a 16-inch. I got this Vortalex right here. It's turquoise. And it's 3-bladed Vortalex. Speed coils work in all 3 of these, and this is the only one that does not have a speed coil in it right now. It's just always on high. Which isn't a huge problem because it's pretty quiet. It definitely lives up to its name. But we'll do each of these one by one here, test the amp draw and stuff. All of these fans have pretty much the same motor housing. As you can see, they all have the same type of oscillator mechanism. So if you want to engage the oscillator, you turn it clockwise until it stops moving. And then to disengage it, you just loosen it. And if you want to lock it in place, you turn it all the way to the left, counterclockwise. So that holds it in place. And they all do that. So here's the Quietblade. We're going to start with this one. Obviously the head can tilt, but it's pretty tight right now, so it's not going to move. There's a wing nut right there. And this thing runs great. I'll get a close-up of the information tag. There's the category number. 60 Hertz, 1.1 amp. This cord is not original. I'm 99% sure of that. And I'm pretty sure the original cord would have been a fabric-coated cord, just like this one is. It goes from the base to the motor. Yeah, it probably should be replaced. That's not too good looking right there. There's where the switch would be if this had a speed coil in it, but again, it's just wired directly to high right now because the speed coil is missing. So you plug it in and it turns on. That's pretty much it. It's got an oil wick on the front, and there's one on the back on this one too, as you can see. Alright. And like I said, this fan definitely lives up to its name. It's very quiet when it's running. It's also extremely powerful. This thing kicks up a really powerful breeze. And there was another grill style for these Quietblades. I don't know if this is the older style or the other one is, but this thing is just super heavy and built really well. Back of the blades are black. I don't know if that's the original color or not. Front is just a natural metal color. These are very, very well made blades on these fans. I turned off the background fan so it's completely quiet. And we will go ahead and plug this one in. Here's the plug that's on it right now. Got the kilowatt meter up here so we can see what the amp draw is. Very steeply pitched blades. Motor's nice and quiet. It's got some nice harmonics to it, like all these old GEs have. This is, of course, a shaded pull motor, and that is really strong. I can feel the air from that all the way at the other end of the basement. There's our amp draw. What was that rated at again? Let's see. That was rated at 1.1, and we're pulling 1.21, so it's a little bit over, but that's nothing that I'm going to be worried about, because this thing runs perfect. I've run this thing overnight several times, and I'll engage the oscillator so you can see that work. There we go. Disengage. amp draw will probably go down as the motor warms up. That's usually what happens with fans. So yep, there's this one. I'll unplug it real quick. I did oil this when I got it, so spin down time is pretty good. And now we'll move on to the next. Just before I move on, I want to see what the amp draw is when it's coming up to speed. Not really that much higher than its operating amp draw. And here we have the small 3-bladed Vortalex. This one, somebody just put part of an extension cord on here. And it's going in right there. Obviously that's not original at all. And this one's cord is so short that I had to use this power strip right here to hook it up to the kilowatt meter. This one also has a shaded pull motor, and it has a working speed coil. Now you'll notice this one does not have that cap over it like this one does that says Vortalex on it, and the turquoise one has that as well. I'll show that. This one, I don't know if that is supposed to be like that or if that's a flaw. I think it's a flaw, because if you look at this part, it's not anywhere near as big of a crack. So I don't know what's up with that, but I doubt that's a common problem with these. Here's our information on this one. Category number, or catalog number, whatever you want to call it. 0.9 amps. So this motor is a little bit less powerful. This one, oscillator is disengaged, and no, it wasn't. Actually, it was engaged. Or no, I have that wrong. Now it's engaged. But I'll turn that off for the initial startup and lock it in place. Like I said, speed coil works in this one. Here's the switch. This one has really loud motor harmonics. When I first got this, it did not want to run properly at all. And you'll notice it spins pretty freely, and it was even spinning freely when I got it, but the problem was the motor halves were not lined up properly. There is a groove on this part that's supposed to fit into here, and you can see it's actually kind of not focusing, but you can see right there there's like a gap. And that's because that shell is actually a little bent because it wasn't put on right in the first place and it was over tightened. So basically this was out of alignment with the back bearing, and it was just sitting there not doing anything, even though if you turned it by hand it would spin. But if as soon as you applied power to it, it would just sit there and hum, and it would actually lock it up because the rotor was not perfectly centered within the stator, so it was not spinning properly at all. I have fixed it since then, and I've oiled it. This one has the oil wick on the front and on the back as well. So I'm going to start this one up. Harmonics are pretty loud on this one. We'll start with low. There's what we're pulling right now. I still don't think this thing is running exactly the way it's supposed to. Sometimes it slows down. You can actually hear it slowing down a little bit right now. And this badge also vibrates a lot, which is kind of annoying, but yeah, it's slowing down a bit. We'll go up to medium. This one has definitely has the most gentle airflow out of all of these here. And there's high. Very loud motor harmonics. It's putting off a good breeze now though. Gonna let this thing sit here and run for a while. Let's see if the oscillator works on this one. Not exactly, I don't remember if it does or not. Okay, yeah, it's not working properly. Trying to turn it all the way over, and you can see it was sort of moving by itself a little bit. It was going back and forth. So the oscillator does not work properly on this one, unfortunately. I would have to say this one's by far the roughest out of all the ones I have. Just the paint job and, you know, that issue with the blade hub that I showed you before. And there's that vibration coming from that. The motor never overheats, so it's kind of weird. That's medium again. It's spinning way too slow for medium. And drawing too much current. Here's low. That's really not doing much of anything right now. As you can see, the cord going from the base to the motor has also been replaced with this brown extension cord type thing. Okay. So yeah, there's something up with this. I don't know what. I'm going to turn it off, and we'll test the amp draw coming up to high. Alright, here's high. And I'll do it for that one. We'll move on to the next one now. And here is the turquoise Vortalexes from the late 40s. This one has a handle on the motor housing, just like the biggest one does. Oscillator works very well on this one. And this thing moves a huge amount of air. It's very powerful for its size. And another difference is rather than the information plate being on the motor, it's down on the base, and this one only has an oil wick on the front. There is none on the back, so I think it just uses the oscillator grease to lubricate the back bearing. Okay, and here's our information. 1.1 amps, and it also has a different switch. This is 3-speed. I don't think this knob is original. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure it's not. But yeah, the switch is in a different position on these. And I think these extra holes are so you can mount this on a wall. All of them have that. So, yep. inside of the motor. It's getting a little dusty. I had cleaned it, but I've used it quite a bit since I've done that. So I'm gonna make sure it's not on oscillate, and yes, the lead wire going from the base to the motor is original, but pretty sure the cord isn't. So that's what the plug looks like. That's an aftermarket plug, definitely. This one also uses a speed coil, and it's a shaded pole motor. So let me lock this in one position so it doesn't swivel back and forth. This one starts on, well, all of these start on low. So here we go. We'll just go straight up to high with this one. It's quiet, very powerful. Again, I can feel this one all the way at the other end of the basement. 1.32 amps, that'll go down as the motor warms up. Put on a medium. That was high and low. Yeah, amp draw doesn't really change a whole lot on this one. So that's low. Let me go back up to high. Very little difference. And when it stops, we'll go straight up to high. And you'll notice with this one it doesn't have any of those imperfections in the hub. And it's got that cap on it that says Vortalexes. So here's high speed. On to the next one. And last but not least, we have the big Vortalexes. This one has the same style logo as that 3-bladed one does, and I also got these both, this big one and the 3-bladed one, from the same person. No imperfections with the blade hub, and it's got the cap on it. Now this one moves an insane amount of air. It's really big for a desk fan, and this one also has the handle on the motor housing. Oscillator does work. There is the information. You'll notice this one is rated at 0.8 amps, which is lower than the rest of them. And at first, you know, that seems kind of strange because this one's bigger, has bigger blades, and moves more air. But the reason is because this is actually a PSC motor. All the rest of the ones I just showed you have shaded pull motors, and they do get pretty warm to the touch. This one, however, you can run this thing for hours and hours and it'll only get slightly warm to the touch. That's because, like I said, it's a PSC motor and those windings look perfect in there. So, oscillator works on this. Like I just said, it does not have the oil wick on the back. As you can see, there's an indentation for it, but it's not there. I think the ones that don't have it on the back are newer. And then there's the oil wick on the front. Sorry about the lighting. Blades on these fans are so thick and sturdy. So, Here's the switch on this one. 3 speeds, starts on low. Uses a speed coil obviously, and this one I'll show you in a second what the old capacitor looks like, but the capacitor needed to be replaced. It would never really get up to speed. It would just spin slowly. And that was just because, like I said, it had a bad capacitor. It's in the base. Here's the original one. General Electric. 2 microfarad, 250 volts, 60 hertz rating. I got one that had the same ratings on it. Obviously the new one's much smaller. It's like one you'd find in a ceiling fan nowadays, but it works perfectly fine for this because it has the same voltage rating and the same microfarad reading. So yeah, this thing runs great now and it's got a lot of power. This one's also got the brown extension cord on it that was put on by the previous owner. It's not as short as the other one, but still not very long. And this, I don't know if that's the original cord with the electrical tape on it or what that is, but yeah, I think that's the original one. You can kind of see the fabric right there. But I'm going to bring this over here a little more, and we'll start off on low. Nice motor harmonics. Super quiet. That thing's on low and there's a nice breeze all the way across the basement. And we'll now go up to medium. This is another one where the amp draw barely changes at all based on what speed it's on. And here's high. Nice and quiet on all speeds. Very powerful. Yeah, that's weird how the amp draw doesn't change at all based on the speed. Let me turn it back down to low. Yeah, so this thing is pulling the same current on all speeds. Guess that's normal for some speed coils. Kinda weird, but it's running just fine. Here goes the oscillator. Sorry, you just got a bunch of wind noise. I didn't realize it was going to turn this far over here. It's blowing a bunch of crap around down here, so I'm going to turn this off soon. But yeah, oscillator works just fine. I turn that off because it's blowing a bunch of crap off the shelf over there. Straighten it out and I'll lock it in position again. It's very well oiled. Takes a long time for this one to stop, that's for sure. And there's a more full frame view of it. Let's do our amp draw coming up to high. Alright. And just because this one has some pretty cool harmonics coming up to speed, well, I mean they all do, but I'll capture this one up close. Alright, here we go up to high.